Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So major update on the BTS military exemption question. It may not be exactly a full exemption, but it may almost be the equivalent. We just had a major breakthrough with the Busan mayor. Yeah, the one that actually has the most skin in the game. I think our petition and that kind of pressure is helping because the Busan mayor is now trying to pressure the president of South Korea to give the BTS guys a different way to do their military service. And in our K-Beauty update, this is surprisingly a best-selling cleanser for over 10 years. I first tried it 10 years ago. I thought it was a fluke. It was on sale again. I tried it again, and it is amazing. So I just wanted to introduce this very affordable cleanser to all of you in our K-Beauty segment. All that coming up, so stay tuned. First of all, you guys, thank you for signing the petition. We have about 2,700 people, over 2,700 people at this point who signed this petition saying that we would boycott the Busan Expo 2030 if there was not any meaningful progress on the question of whether BTS could be exempt. I know some of you probably had some issues. You wrote in the comments that were saying like, don't play hardball, don't rock the boat. Look, you can't even get this politician to like a free lunch unless you are threatening to either take something away from them or give them something. So yes, Army, you have definitely spoken, saying like, we're gonna take away your big little expo because, you know, these politicians, they gotta send their kids to college, and you know, a lot of times this college tuition comes from the, you know, the deals in the back. And so that, I think, has definitely helped, because who spoke up for BTS at this point? You know, the Military Manpower Association director was kind of backpedaling, remember? The defense minister was also backpedaling, giving these crazy ideas, saying like, oh, they can do two at once, you know, they can kind of like practice on the side and go to their concerts and then come back to the military, like as if it's, what is this? It's like not even work from home. And so they weren't speaking up about it. The president was saying about like, oh, you know, well, I have to listen to public opinion. So if he has to listen to public opinion, the people gotta speak up. And already they have spoken up. 60% of the South Korean public already says that they support alternative military service for BTS. What would put it over the edge? Your voices from around the world. Because why? It does matter. It really does matter. Like when there is a stalemate in South Korea, and if there is a direct relation to something foreign, you know, foreign relations, foreign opinion, how Korea looks to the outside world, that does tip the scales. And the person with the biggest skin in the game right now is the Busan mayor, because each time the politicians come into power, they have to have it's not even a pet project. I have to call it a glory project. It has to basically cement what they did. And every single time somebody comes in office, they got some big falutin project, because project brings money and projects bring power, and that can be divided up and given to all of their buddies. And so they really need this Busan World Expo. And I think what's happened, because you gotta speak to where they need you, Army, instead of like, oh, it's trying to be like, oh, do the right thing. When's the last time you ever asked a bully or somebody who's never gonna do the right thing and waited on them to do the right thing without saying a word, without saying like what the consequences would be? Yeah, I'm waiting. It's never happens. You gotta put some force with people who are obviously willing to use mechanisms at their disposal. Namely, the BTS guys, just like parading them in front of everybody. And so the Busan mayor in this article is essentially quoting like, it's getting competitive, So I could see the calculation before. The calculation before is if nobody is putting up a fuss, and if nobody's saying anything and BTS is already signed on, why we gotta give them something, like why do I need to go out on this political, limb to risk any kind of backlash? Because, there's always both sides, people who are against it. Why should I risk anything if I got it already, Why buy the cow if you get the milk for free? And so it looks like the competition is between Busan, Saudi Arabia, and Italy. And they've probably been having some discussions or calculations being like, oh, okay, look, we really can't do this without BTS. We gotta step up our game because, Saudi Arabia, Italy, two very big contenders. I bet they have so much in their arsenal as to what they can say makes them a great candidate for the Busan World Expo, or for the World Expo 2030. Yes, we put the cart before the horse. Busan didn't get it yet. They're trying to get it, and they're trying to have BTS be the PR ambassadors to secure the bid. So when we heard that announcement, they were injured parts of BTS people. They made them a deal to make the BTS members public relation ambassadors. And here's some more explanation of what their duties would be. Under the agreement that was signed between Busan and HYBE Entertainment back in June, BTS will guide officials of the International Bureau of Expositions during on-site inspections next year. Yeah, so basically, the site inspection, like when you're doing the Olympics, they see like whether you have all of the Olympic facilities and what if that would be good. Yeah, usually the bureaucrats are doing that. They gotta put the celebrity right next to them. That's what they're trying to do, okay? Do you really want to do that? Do you really think that's in your job description? And so then also they have to deliver presentations at the General Assembly in front of these on-site inspectors. The presentation. Would you pull BTS into a PowerPoint presentation to launch the new Galaxy phone? I know they're on the ads. Yes, they do the commercial, but then do you expect them to go into the boardroom and say like, oh, hey guys, we're announcing this new phone and go through a PowerPoint presentation? They are going to make them do like a PowerPoint presentation. And then they actually have to go to the final assembly when the committee that decides on the expo announces the host city. So again, it's like going to an award show and then they may get it or may not get it. But this is not an award show for them and their music. This is just the final report card ceremony of the bid cities. It'll be Saudi Arabia, Italy, and Busan. And so this is a job. This is a job. And so finally, I think perhaps the Busan mayor is getting the point, saying this is far outside of what, a standard sponsorship agreement even would be, and what pop artists should be, paid to do, but I doubt there's that much money in this. I bet it's more of an obligation. Because it's an obligation, so he's now the Busan mayor, Park Hyung-jun. By the way, you spelled your English name wrong. These guys they just decide however way to kind of put their name in English. So, Mayor Park Hyung-jun, let me just give you a tip. You spelled it Heong. So, if all of these people from the Expo committee call you Hyung-jun instead of Hyung-jun, just some free advice. And so he sent a message and a proposal to the Blue House, to the president of South Korea, saying that the BTS members should fulfill their obligations as PR ambassadors and have that count as alternative service for the military. Now, this is kind of like probably he's making a new classification now, because alternative service was granted by the Supreme Court of Korea to give conscientious objectors an alternative to serving in the mandatory military service, especially for people who have religious beliefs against violence or warfare. And the way that it has worked out, and it just passed very recently in 2018, and then the first conscientious objectors who did the alternative military service started in about 2019, 2020, and they can work in homeless shelters, specialized hospitals, nursing homes, prisons, or as firefighters or policemen. They made a big show out of sending the religious conscientious objectors to work in a prison, and they actually have to, I believe, live there, but they're separated from the prisoners, but they work in the prison, and their duty is not the standard 18 months, they doubled it to 36 months, to 3 years. And in some ways, that's a PR move that is accepted by the Korean public. Be like, oh, okay, well, if they don't want to do their military service in the actual active military, wow, they have to do it 2 times as long, 3 years, okay, and they got to work in a prison. Okay, I guess that could be an equivalent. In the way that the social contract is constructed, that could probably be an equivalent. And so in that sense, then perhaps BTS can also do this multi-year long PR ambassador project for the South Korean government and have that count as alternative military service. I think that's a very fair trade, and it's probably a palatable way to present this to people, especially in the sense of like how burdensome it would be to do this. And I think if you press really upon the South Korean male youth and really press like, you know, these guys are like superstars, but they're gonna have to like really work with these bureaucrats and these older men usually, then I think they might kind of relate or resonate. You gotta have something that relates, and I think they'd be like, oh yeah, okay, that kind of sucks. Like they're gonna have to like take orders from some ajashis, and they're gonna, oh man, that yeah, okay, that sounds pretty painful. It's gotta sound painful for them, and I think they should, you know, really kind of stress like they're really taking one for the team and doing this. They've already been like, you know, injured with their arms and like paraded around like show ponies at the state fair. And so that is a step in the right direction, but the decision and the policies have to be made on this national level. And so now it seems as if, you know, what is the pressure or the pain point for the president to be able to go along with this and then pressure because once you get I'm not sure about this president, but mainly in South Korea, if a president wants something, the way that the power structure is still set up in Korea, where he's kind of like a king, he can pressure the Minister of Defense to do what he wants. He can pressure the Military Manpower Association to do what he wants, especially in this context. Remember, President Park Geun-hye, she got impeached, yes, for multiple things, but one of the biggest things was forcing the National Pension Service to go along with the stock like split buyback like thing for Samsung. And that's when the National Pension Service even did not want to do it. Even our version of the CIA, you know, our National Intelligence Service, they're forced to do stuff like, you know, election manipulation for other presidents as well. So presidents can, you know, make things happen. So if President Yoon Suk-yeol really wanted to make this happen, he can make it happen. And that is somewhat, in one sense, like, you know, sometimes people around the world are like, oh, how does Korea move so fast? Well, if the order comes from the president or up on high, immediately you can kind of move through checks and balances and just kind of go through a certain direction. The problem comes, it's more like, super high octane fuel. Sometimes, that burns up, but it does let people move quickly in terms of some sort of policies. Anyhow, with BTS, I think if the president can find a way for him to have this be a platform for him to increase his approval rating somehow, then I think we have a good chance for this to get adopted by the president. So now the onus, I think, is on the president. And if the president really needs the win of the Busan Expo, that might really help him out in some format or another. It might help him out. It might be leverage for him to use to get other parts of his agenda across if he's able to secure the Busan World Expo. A lot of people are happy, that raises his political capital. Maybe it'll make his other initiatives easier to pass, although this guy's not a long-term planner. That's the problem. He doesn't really have like these agenda or ideas. He's kind of a reactor. So I think President Yoon, get an agenda going and get your political capital with the Busan World Expo. Secure it by getting the BTS guys the alternative military service, which is not an exemption. So that's a great political compromise. That happens. I think we might be onto something here, and we may be able to save K-pop. What do you think, guys? So keep signing the petition and continue on with the pressure campaign. And now I think we have to direct our focus to the president. Okay, guys, K-beauty time. This is from Etude. They used to be called Etude House, and like Tony Moly, they were kind of like very teeny boppery, but then they're still a little bit teeny boppery. But this baking powder I randomly got like at a 2-for-1 like 10 years ago. I was like, oh my gosh, because I was like somewhere and I forgot to bring my cleanser, and I was like, oh gosh, this is a good deal, but I don't know if this is good. Is it gonna ruin my skin? I have to have 2 of them and use 2 of them. I ended up loving using both of them, and I don't know why I didn't buy it again. Well, because the fresh soy face cleanser is so good. But this came up again like online as really cheap, and I was like, let's try it again, because this is like a foaming cleanser-ish, but it doesn't foam that much. It's kind of like a cream cleanser, and apparently it has baking powder, but I really looked up the ingredients. The closest thing was this thing called potassium hydroxide, which I think is in the same family as baking powder and baking soda. See how it goes like this? It is extremely soft on your skin, and they say that because it is like the ingredients of like baking powder will soften your water. So if you have hard water, this is great. Now, it gives a very deep pore cleanse, it claims, and it basically has like a very clean finish. If you like those cleansers that seem like they're cream / foaming and you like that kind of feeling, this I think I would actually be okay with. Usually I don't like those kind of feeling based cleansers that don't have a result, but this has a result. It also leaves that kind of squeaky clean feeling, which I normally am so against, because I think it actually clogs your pores and gives you a fake feeling of freshness. And the Estee Lauder cleanser that's really long-standing and famous, that has extreme squeakiness. This is very light squeakiness. Now, what I was able to look up with like this potassium hydroxide is that it's like in the same family as like, I believe, the baking soda, baking powder, but you chemistry people, let me know, because essentially it is potassium hydroxide, which is something potash. They do use it in a lot of liquid soaps, but in higher concentrations, they use it as like in the cuticle removers. Not that it's that high concentrated, but I think that's how they get it to be a pore cleanser. Apparently, it's also used in shaving creams so that like the pore opens up and it's easier for you to shave. So I think it does have some sort of gentle exfoliating process. So that's why I don't really like to use separate exfoliators, because I think like when you're in your basic good skincare routine, there are elements in each product that will exfoliate a little bit. So you don't want to exfoliate crazily. And so this is pretty good and at a very decent price, and for people who like the feeling of a facial cleanser, this definitely has that full feel. And it is the pore cleansing. They have one called BB cleansing, which I think is stronger, claiming that it'll like lift makeup off and stuff like that. The fresh soy face cleanser that I like so much, it doesn't have that feeling of like a foaming cleanser, but I still love it the most. But this is a great addition to a cleansing regimen in order to, kind of when you want to have that kind of soapy, fresh feeling without it being too soapy. It's not going to dry out your skin, but at the same time, you want it to lift stuff off. You want it to be a little bit exfoliating. And I do really think it does soften the water. It's definitely a reason why it's still around for 10 years. That is very rare, especially in these kind of teeny boppery skincare lines that have evolved into a more of a mature Korean K-beauty line. So this is definitely K-beauty, and it will make you beautiful. So give it a shot. All right, guys. Well, what do you think? We have to put the pressure on. Like, we got to make this deadline. Hopefully by the fall, we can get some sort of announcement so that before Jin has to go in by his birthday in December, we really need to make sure that we get a definitive answer and that this PR stuff, ambassador work stuff doesn't start until BTS gets their alternative military service or exemption. Put your comments below, guys, and remember to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time. Bye-bye.